Where Hollywood Hides. Here's Bob and Suzanne.
Chicken joke! I'm Mrs. Cleaver.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller plays.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. Nanu.
Baby, you're the great.
Here comes the judge.
More cowbell.
Not special.
There's anything wrong with that.
And now for something completely different.
There's no business like
Welcome to Where Hollywood Hides. This is podcast number 32. My name is Bob McCullough.
Hi, Robert. This is Suzanne Herrera-McCullough.
Hi, Suzanne Herrera-McCullough.
Happy October.
It's October, and why am I sweating?
Halloween is around the corner.
Yeah, I know, but I'm hot.
I know. It's been 99 degrees in Santa Barbara.
I have not worn socks since April.
Well, you never do anyway.
But you're
a sandal kind of guy.
I like summer, but enough already. I'm ready for a sweater.
Oh, you're spoiled.
Hey, listen, today I'm really excited about the interview we have lined up with Melissa Sue Anderson.
As in Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah,
I used to love that show.
She's had a terrific career, and we'll be getting into some of the details of that.
And you know how I like trivia, right?
I do. You're kind of the font, the maven of trivia.
You know, 20 years ago, there was a very big movie that came out.
Which one?
I'll give you a hint. Life is a box of chocolates.
Forrest Gump.
That's right. 20 years ago, it was made. It was a huge blockbuster. The only other movie that made more money that year was The Lion King.
Which I don't think I ever saw. But I've seen Forrest Gump about 50 times.
Oh, at least. And I'd see it tomorrow if we could.
You know, that was one of the very first movies to really incorporate computer graphics in the production.
State of the art.
Really, very cutting edge. They put Forrest Gump in the room with Richard Nixon, and they started with that floating...
And Elvis.
Right, and the floating feather at the beginning and end. That was all computerized.
Incredible movie.
Real groundbreaking stuff.
Did you know that Matthew Broderick was considered to play Gump?
No way.
Would that not have changed everything?
Yeah, because you can't think of it without thinking of Tom Hanks.
But then came along Robert Zemeckis, which is the director. Then Tom Hanks came on board as Gump. They both decided to take no salary and just some points off the movie. Are you kidding? Yes.
And that movie has made $1 trillion.
So I know you are just really curious about who was born 50 years ago in show business.
Oh, here's Miss Hollywood Trivia.
That's right. Rob Lowe.
Okay.
Mere Babies, Sandra Bullock.
Really?
Courtney Love.
All the same year?
Yes. And something that I remember vaguely, but was a very big deal, Sidney Poitier became the first African-American to win the Oscar for Lilies of the Field.
And as it so happens, I'm currently reading his autobiography. The guy was born in the Bahamas.
We didn't even plan this, really.
No, it's an awesome story. His life story is beyond belief. I mean, I really recommend it. It's called This Life. It was published years ago, and I just happened to pick it off the shelf. You know, it's one of those books you buy, you say, I really want to read this, and 20 years later, you still haven't read it. I'm reading it now, and Sidney Poitier had quite an incredible life. Hey, listen, before we get into talking with Melissa Sue Anderson, I want to remind everybody to go to wherehollywoodhides.com, our website, and they can see show notes and all the links to all the various products that are referenced in the life story of some of the people we're talking to. But most importantly,
our book.
Our book is on the website.
Where Hollywood Hides, Santa Barbara, Celebrities in Paradise.
It's a very easy book to pick up. All you have to do is hit that Buy Now button. You'll get free shipping. Comes to you quickly. It's hardcover, full color. It's really a coffee table collector's book.
We got a very exciting email the other day, which read, "Please send more. We are sold out."
Santa Barbara bookstores are doing pretty well with it. So we're very excited. Please go to the website at wherehollywoodhides.com and take a look at the book. I think you'll be glad you did.
And the experience was so much fun. We are on our second book.
Suzanne's got a whole series of books planned, so stand by for that. So listen, Melissa Sue Anderson really started acting really as a young child, and her big break was on
Little House on the Prairie
with Michael Landon, and she went from that to a long career doing episodic work, acting in things like Murder, She Wrote, Hotel. She and I worked together on a show called Dark Mansions for Aaron Spelling. Which
really, that show was really ahead of its time.
It was a great movie. It starred Joan Fontaine, Michael York, Linda Pearl, Paul Shinar. Gosh, it's just a stellar cast, and Melissa Sue Anderson was key in it. She played a very central character. And after that, she went on and did a number of TV movies, episodic work for the next 15 or 20 years. And I think she has a lot of good insights as to how a career is built, and her life story is pretty remarkable. All right, so let's talk to Melissa Sue Anderson.
Here's Melissa.
Melissa Sue Anderson, you have had one of the most iconic careers in television history, and you started really, really young. Give me an idea, if you can. What was your first? At what point in your life did you say, "I think I want to be an actress"?
Well, it actually worked out a little bit differently than that, but I was a dancer before the coaching part to be their next big star. But unfortunately, he didn't have the acting experience to go along with it and the personality. So he was all footwork, but he didn't have that kind of, magnetic personality, and he didn't have the acting experience. So he thought I had potential as a dancer. And he thought, wouldn't it be great if I could be more well-rounded and, Anyway, long story short.
Now, Melissa, how old were you at this point?
That's the thing. I was around, I think, 7 and 8 at that time.
You were young.
And I overheard him, talking to my parents, talking to my mother. And so eventually I caught on to what he was saying. And I thought, oh, acting, that sounds fun. I can't believe I said that because I was very shy. So, but I really can't believe I said that. But I did. I was fascinated by it. So my parents really thought that it was such a difficult business to break into that I would quit. I wouldn't want.
Sure, because you were shy, right?
I was shy, and I wouldn't want to give up any after-school activities and all kinds of things. And they really thought, that this would, go away.
So your parents had nothing to do with Hollywood or show business? They
didn't, no. So I had to get an agent first, and they thought, okay, well, that'll be hard, and that probably won't happen. But it did. And then I had to get a job, and I think I got the first commercial I went out for, but they didn't have it in their budget to Taft-Hartley me because I wasn't a member of SAG at that time, obviously, and you can't work without being a member, but you can't be a member without working like that. So they promised, I guess, my agent and said the next one we'll have it for, and they did. So anyway, I did.
Well, you're glossing over something pretty dramatic here. What was that first audition like? You're 7 or 8 years old?
Yeah, I was 9 by that time.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember it well. I think it was a Mattel toy commercial. And Mattel was funny because they would make you, it was as important to them how clean you were as it was anything else.
How clean?
What do you mean by clean?
Yeah,
like
well,
clean
they
appearance?
would make you they would stick at you, you would have to, stick out your hands. And
really?
They would look at your hands, and if you had nice hands, like probably they didn't particularly want, chewed up fingernails and things like that.
Sure.
Because that way they didn't have to hire a hand model.
Ah.
Interesting.
Also you're dealing with children, so a child hand model would be yet another problem.
Right.
A kid who can only work a certain amount of hours and all that stuff. Again, So that was important to them, and then we had a neighbor also who drew. He was an artist, and he drew storyboards and stuff. And he would say that would happen all the time. He would draw a little girl hanging upside down from a tree with pigtails and a polka dot dress. And if a little girl in a polka dot dress came in, oftentimes she would get the job because it's just one of those things. You get an idea of something.
Sure.
And then it sticks. I didn't do a lot of commercials. Many kids did many hundreds of them. I think normally a commercial type at that time anyway was more freckle-faced. I had a few freckles, but not that many, and kind of really cute kid. I was kind of, more of a, I don't know. I looked more like Alice in Wonderland than at that time with long blonde hair, and I didn't look like the little kid hanging upside down from the tree. Anyway, I was fortunate to do the 25 or so that I did, and then I went on and got my first part, which was.
Now, while you're doing all these commercials and going out on auditions, are you in school?
Yes, right. And I don't remember the auditions too well, but I do remember they all took place after school, and my mother would pick me up from school and bring a change of clothes in the car, and I'd change my clothes and brush my teeth. And
now, so many people on the acting side of the camera feel a great deal of anxiety when they go to auditions or even when they're on the set. And I'm wondering, did you have that feeling?
I did okay. I think the only thing that bothered me was when I started reading for parts, and I would see people, like Jodie Foster sitting there.
Right.
And that was a little, I mean, I knew her. I mean, I had seen her, and I knew, she was good, and so I was a little, I felt intimidated, but I wasn't overly nervous.
So your first speaking role came on, was it Bewitched?
The Brady Bunch.
The
right.
Brady Bunch, okay. And how old were you at that time?
That was kind of right before Little House, not too far before. It was I was about 10.
Was that the episode where you kissed somebody?
Right. I was Bobby.
That was very
Bobby's,
cute.
First girlfriend, right.
Yeah, he had braces. I remember that.
So how was that's your very first speaking role in a television series? That was at the time one of the biggest TV series going. What was that like? Because you were not a member of the Brady family.
Right. Well, it was funny because I was, a big, huge fan of the show. I used to sit cross-legged on the floor and watch every Friday night. The Brady Bunch and the Partridge Family I watched religiously. So when I got that job, I was just beside myself. I was so excited, and I went in, and I was disappointed in that everything was so fake. There was no screen door at all. That they kept opening and closing and opening and closing, and it was not there was just nothing, no glass, nothing.
It's funny that you remember that still.
Yeah, and I remember the AstroTurf for the grass, and I also remember that the kids were older than I thought they were. I don't know why I thought they were, I just thought they were closer to my age, and of course they were. Even Mike Lookinland was 2 or 3 years older than I was. So I was a bit disappointed that
it's a reality check.
The age that I thought they were. But they were all very nice, and it was obviously very exciting and very fun. But yes, it was very. I guess if I could have known at the time, I would have said it looked cheap.
Did you? Did you?
That looked cheap.
Who was your agent at that time?
Mary Grady.
Did she give you any appreciation for how important that little guest spot was?
I don't remember.
Because that was kind of a career make or break. If you had, If you had done poorly, you may never have seen a camera again.
That's true. It's very true. No, she didn't do that. She was a fantastic agent and a really nice person. Great woman. No, she didn't pressure anybody. She was a lot of fun. She made sure that you knew it was business, but she also understood that kids are kids,
right.
And she treated you as like a kid, which was nice.
And how long after the Brady Bunch did you go out for Little House?
Well, then after that, I went. I interviewed for the series Shaft with Richard Roundtree.
Sure.
And I was auditioning to play Robert Culp's daughter.
One of my favorite actors of that generation, Bob Culp.
I know, yeah, and I used to see him. He lived somewhere near us.
Was he as cool as I thought he was?
Very cool and nice, and nicest guy, just so nice. I used to see him. There was an Italian restaurant that we loved and he loved, and we were. I don't think they took reservations. I can't remember. I doubt it, because we were waiting, and I was so hungry, and my stomach was growling, and I was saying how hungry I was, and I'm so hungry, and to my parents, and he said something to the restaurant, and can you please find a table for this little girl? She's starving.
So he was a nice guy.
He was very nice, yeah. And I can't remember if that was before or after we worked together. I think it was before. He was very, very nice, and it turns out that we found out when we were working together that we were both born in the same hospital.
So you went out for Shaft.
Mm-hmm, and I got that one, and then I auditioned for Little House after that.
And tell me what that process was like, because
they must have
seen a lot of kids.
They did. I heard a number was like 200 for each role of Mary and Laura.
So when you were sent out on that audition for Little House, did you have any concept of how competitive it was going to be?
No, and actually I had no idea it was Little House either, because my agent, Mary, she saw it. She said it's a pioneer Western. And so off I went to
and she was right. That's what it was.
Right, for a pioneer Western. And And then the first meeting was with the NBC, brass, and I sat and spoke to all of them. And
did you have any prep for the audition? Did you wear period costume for the meeting?
No.
And you played a blind role, correct?
Well, not in the beginning. That my character went blind at the end of the fourth season.
That's
Thank
right.
goodness, yeah. So no,
Okay.
not in the beginning. But the thing was, when I went on, into this first meeting, they told me that it was Little House on the Prairie, and that, of course, every kid at that time had read in school, including me. So then it was very exciting because I knew the books. So then I realized, this Pioneer Western, I knew what it was then. So it was fun to talk to them about that. And
did they actually did in that initial meeting? Did you read?
No, they just said, would I be interested in did I think I was similar to the Mary character? And
so that's what that kind of an audition is. What's called a preliminary meet and greet. They want to find out. They want to find out if they can stand to be in the same room with you, basically.
That's right. And and then after that, I guess they would have most likely narrowed their bunch down.
Was Michael Landon part of that meeting?
Not the first one, no. They must have narrowed it down, I think, to around like 25 or so of us, and we read for Mike Landon.
What was that like?
Very exciting. And those were the days when you would go and pick up your, you would go to the office for your meeting, and you'd go a little early, and you would pick up your sides, and you would rehearse them, and then you would go in and literally hold the paper and read them with whom, the casting person or whoever. For
some of the uninitiated, sides being 3 or 4 pages of the actual script.
Right. The scenes, some scenes that had been pulled from the script, and you were expected to read those. But now it's interesting because now they don't do that. Now you're expected to turn in a performance for your audition. You're emailed your sides and you learn them and then you just perform them, which I think I don't know why they do it that way now. In some ways, I guess it gives an actor, like if they're self-taping and stuff, which that happens too, then it gives an actor a leg up because they can just keep going until they get the one that they like and they submit that one. But if you're going in and meeting somebody and reading in an office with somebody, you're not reading, you're performing. And what if the director, who probably isn't there, and they're putting you on tape, what if they didn't want it that way?
Right. You don't get any feedback, right?
No, exactly, right. So I don't think it's the greatest way of doing things. I liked it better before, because also reading cold is an art. If you can cold read, you can do a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I don't really understand it.
So when you met with Michael Landon, was that a cold reading, or did they give you prior sides?
It was, yeah. I went and picked.
Now at that time, he was already a big star. He had been on Bonanza. Everybody knew who he was. He was one of the biggest guys in television. So, did you have any anxiety over that? I mean, that can be pretty intimidating.
No, I don't think I knew he was there until I walked in to the office. So it was exciting.
And did he read with you, or did he just observe?
He did.
Uh-huh.
He did. Yeah, it was having a real pro read with you.
So at some point in time, Mary Grady calls you and says, "Guess what? You have a job."
No, well, it wasn't yet. After that, they had a screen test. So then we had to, go and a whole bunch of us girls for each role. I don't know, there were 8 or so of us, I guess, for each role, 8 or 10 of us. And we had, that was funny, we had to go to makeup and hair and then sit in school together because it was like November or something. And we all were in school, so we had to do our schoolwork with the teacher. And then we were called out 2 by 2, a Laura and a Mary, to do the scene. And I was let go that day in the afternoon when I was finished with school. And I thought, okay, well, I'm sure I don't think I got that because they kept other people. And I thought, well...
Sure, so you thought, well, they are the ones that they're...
Right, and some Laura's... No, some people auditioning for Mary were then turned into Laura's. And so I thought, oh, well, I don't think I... But then I don't know how long it was. It seemed like a very long time, but it was probably only a week or so. And I got a call at dinner time. And it was my agent, Mary, and she asked, I chronicle all this in my book, actually, because it was funny. It was very funny. She asked me what I was doing, and I said I was having dinner, and she said, what are you eating? And I said, or what are you having? And I told her, and she said, well, I have some good news for you. And I, of course, was all excited. And she said, you got the job. But the other side is that they, rather than saying bad news, that they want you to lose 5 pounds.
Oh.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it, but I was like, sure, I can lose 5. Why not 5 pounds? I mean, anybody can lose 5 pounds, 5 pounds. And then finally I went, why do they want me to lose 5 pounds? I mean, I wasn't overweight at all, and they thought because I had such a round face that I looked. Someone anyway thought that I looked too well fed looking for a pioneer.
Oh my God.
So
too well fed.
And so years and years later, I was in the little kitchen area of our set, and I was just hanging around there, and I talking to the guys, and Mike walked up, and we then were all talking, and I was drinking one of my numerous cabs that I was always drinking at the time, and somebody, of course, made a comment about that. And I mentioned about having to lose the 5 pounds for the pilot, and Mike Landon had no idea. And I really believe him because he was so... the way he said it, I don't think he knew. And I told him, he said, well, it wasn't me.
No, that sounds like something some brilliant network executive came up with.
Yeah, I think it might have been Ed Friendly, actually, the other executive producer at the time, and then they parted ways.
During the whole show then, you were still really young and
Right.
impressionable and preteen and all this. Now, throughout the whole entire show, were you always conscious of the fact that you could not, in your own way, gain weight?
Right, yes. I was always worried that my face looked like a basketball.
So you find yourself suddenly in an ensemble cast of strangers. I mean, you had not worked with these folks before.
Right, no. Mm-mm.
Tell us about how that works as an actor. You come in and suddenly you're thrust together as a family. How does the whole personality thing work? Because you guys are...
Well, it's interesting. That's where you learn to be professional if you're not already, because, you have to put any personal feelings you might have, aside and just, act like a professional. But, we all got along. We were very different. We are very different people. But we never fought, and we wouldn't have. Just because we're different didn't mean we didn't get along. We did, but we certainly were not like brothers and sisters.
Right.
We were friends, and we weren't like close friends, which is probably a good thing because, that's when you have a falling out.
That's right. That's right.
And that's not quite so good either. For kids anyway.
Now, on an ongoing television show, and you guys obviously had no idea how long the show would go, you're kind of going week to week at that point in time because networks are famous for canceling shows if they aren't really smash hits immediately. How did the directors work with you guys?
After the first season or so, it turned out to be Mike did about every other episode and Bill Claxton did the other one because Mike didn't get along with other directors too well.
And why is that? Because he wanted his vision?
Yes, he had control issues, I think, and it was hard for him to hand over the reins to somebody else. But Bill, he had kind of literally grown up with as an actor on Bonanza, so he trusted him. So, and Bill was my favorite director. I really, really thought he was great.
So many directors work in so many different ways. Some take the Hitchcock view. Just don't let the actors bump into the furniture. It doesn't really matter what they do. I'm going to frame everything and it's going to be my movie. And other directors give actors free rein to interpret things. Did you get line readings? How controlled was that cast?
Well, Mike Landon was more like that. He was, very controlling. And he would light the scene with the stand-ins while we were in makeup. So when we came into the set, we would have no choice but to do and go wherever he wanted us to go because the whole scene would have been beautifully lit already, and you couldn't relight it. So we had to do what he told us to do. But Bill Claxton wasn't like that. He would rehearse right off the bat with the actors, and so that way, if I was sitting in a chair and thought I should get up on some line and walk around, as long as it was a good decision on my part, if he agreed with me, I could do that.
Right.
So it was more freeing, and it also gave, you felt more like an equal.
While you're working in this ensemble and the show is really picking up steam and becoming an obvious hit, being renewed year after year, you were also doing a lot of other work. Was that happening during hiatuses?
Right. During the hiatuses, I always tried to do something else, and I tried to, it was always contemporary. I would do a love vote here and a movie of the week there, and it was great, and I love to work, so it was working out great for me, and it got me through. I was one of those lucky kids, really, I didn't really have a really awkward phase, thank goodness, and then also I had a good resume. For when I left the show, I was able to, move on to other things.
How different was it working at Paramount with Landon as opposed to moving over to Aaron Spelling Productions and doing all the stuff you did there?
I loved Aaron. I mean, Aaron was a great producer and a terrific guy. And his sets were very well run. Well,
one of the advantages of working with Aaron as an actor is that he was an actor at one time.
I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah.
That's before he ever wrote a script. He was an actor, and he loved actors. I mean, he would talk about his people. He called them his people, and it was with great affection, I must say.
I really, really liked him. I'm trying to think because I didn't do a lot of serious acting for him until I did Love Boats and stuff. I did a pilot called Midnight Offerings. That unfortunately happened at the time that Aaron was having a lot of trouble at ABC and he was moving. And ABC didn't pick it up. They were very unhappy with Aaron because Aaron was going to NBC, I think.
Right.
I can't remember.
Right.
And anyway, they didn't pick up Midnight Offerings. And Midnight Offerings was cool. And it was a shame. I mean, it was Joan Fontaine, Paul Shinar, and Linda Pearl.
You're talking about a show called Dark Mansions, and that's where you and I actually worked together because I wrote and produced that turkey.
There we go. Yeah. So you know the story about that, right?
I know the story all too well. Jerry London directed. It was Joan Fontaine, Linda Pearl, Paul Shinar, Michael York, and yourself. And of course, what did we do? We cast you as a blind girl.
That's right. But that was terrible because I was dying.
And that was a very big, very expensive production.
Right.
I mean, Jerry London did not work cheap, and he had come off of Shogun, and the cast was probably
a great cast.
Probably one of the best casts I've ever worked with. And there was an awful lot of backstage politics with respect to that show's not getting a green light.
Right, because it should have been. I mean, really, everyone thought it would be picked up.
It was a huge disappointment for everybody.
Right.
But that's what showbiz is. You just cannot predict what's going to click.
Now, Melissa, going back to Little House on the Prairie for a minute, towards the end of the run of that show, were you pretty much ready to move on?
Oh, well, I didn't stay to the end. I did 7 years and 2 shows, the 8th season.
That's a long time. Yeah.
Because I was blind and I had been blind for so long, and believe me, when you've been a blind pioneer, they kept writing tragedies for me, terrible, unbelievably terrible tragedies, and there's only so much. So it was either some terrible tragedy, or they would put me into a scene like Linwood Boomer and I, who played my husband, in a circus scene, in the audience supposedly watching the circus. With Mike Landon explaining everything that's happening. And it was just for the audience, to know that we were still alive.
Sure.
So it was really a bad, it was just
It was time to move on. Yeah.
It was, yeah.
As an actor, I've never known this technique. How do you play blind? What do you focus on?
I don't know how. I think other people do it, everybody does it, has a different way of doing it.
Did you have any kind of instruction?
No, I went to the Foundation for the Junior Blind, and
okay.
I to learn the technical things for, there are things that you need to know for when a person has been newly blinded, and you have to know things when a person learns to deal with it. So, you have to learn how to, sit down if you suddenly can't see. Most people sit on their hand when they sit because they want to make sure that the chair is actually there.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of things like that. And then as you learn, you have to learn how to walk with a cane, and you have to learn how to look like you can read Braille, and you have to learn how to pour water into a glass, and all these things that blind people know how to do once they know how to do it. And so I did learn all that. And then the gaze thing is really for me was not to focus at all. It was to sort of look through things.
Right.
So that I tried to do it so that I could have people walking around and stuff in front of me, and I just didn't see them. I just looked through them.
No, and the camera, I must say, and I don't mean to flatter you, the camera loves your eyes. And there's a transparency of emotion that you are able to convey. And that's really what Aaron was all about on Dark Mansions. He wanted to see that mystery.
Right.
And you did a great job. Yeah, I must say you did a great job of that because you were a very kind of a spooky character in that movie.
Yeah, it was a spooky movie, you know.
Oh yeah.
It was fun though, and I wish it had gone because I wanted to work for him because I really liked him, you know, and it just would have been fun. And you know, that was so disappointing, and it also I was kind of embarrassed by it because it made me look like I took another job as a blind person, and that wasn't it. You know, it's like, wait, I'm going to see again, really.
right.
You know, I was oh, no.
No, Jerry Lennon and I had great plans for your character. We just never got to realize them. You know,
right.
We went to an ASR screening up on Sunset, and the audience simply didn't get it. I think the music had a lot to do with it.
I also think it was way ahead of its time. Because if you see the stuff now, all the vampire and all the scary stuff on, it's a huge hit. Too ahead of its time, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't like anything, totally not like anything that was on the air then.
It never stopped you from working, let's face it. You went on and did The Equalizer and Alfred Hitchcock and Sam McCloud, Burke. I mean, you had a lot of credits following that. What was that life like? You're kind of like a freelance actor at that time?
Well, I loved, you know, my favorite job was The Equalizer because I loved, it's funny to be saying that now, but it always has been because I loved New York, and my best friend lived here, and I would come and visit her, and I loved the weather, and they were so nice, The Equalizer. They just called and asked was I available and was I interested? I was like, are you kidding? I love that show. So it was, it was fantastic. It was just fantastic. So that was really my favorite job.
Now, Melissa, is this where you met your husband, Michael?
No.
No,
we didn't meet there. He was already off. I think he was at MTM or something at that time. He did the pilot for The Equalizer and then left.
Well, just for the listeners who may not be aware, and I don't want to get too personal, but you are married to Michael Sloan, who created The Equalizer.
Right.
And who has written the recent novel, The Equalizer.
And there's a big movie out.
Right.
So yeah, it's a great year for Michael, and we're very proud of him. You know, I worked with him for a couple of years on various shows, and he was always very much an inspiration for me. Probably the strongest work ethic I've ever seen in the business.
He's a pretty hard worker.
Yeah. So you guys did not meet at that time. That's interesting.
I know. Most people think we did. No, it was after that. I think I had done my first two-parter Equalizer. It was between the first one and the second one, and that's when they called about me doing the first Alfred Hitchcock Presents in Toronto, and that's where I met him. The reason, and also the reason, one of the main reasons I did that was because they couldn't get me a script in time. I think originally the character that I was playing was older, and they had been trying to find an older, an actress more in her like mid-30s or something. Then my name was mentioned, and I was 25 or whatever at the time. And then by that time there wasn't even time to get me a script. They needed me to get up there and have wardrobe and start shooting.
So at this time you've already amassed a career's worth of credits, and you're not very old. What is that working life as an actor like? I mean, are you sitting around waiting for the phone to ring? Are you looking for projects? Is your agent just, banging on doors? How does that work?
Well, you hope that your agent is doing that. Usually that's not the case. They think that you've got plenty of money and you can just sit back and of course every actor is always worried that their last job was their last.
Sure.
So you always want to work. Most actors do have to motivate their agents.
It sounds like a very insecure, kind of scary life, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's why I would never want it for my kids, because you want your kids to have
to grow up as normal as possible, whatever that means. But you're right.
But what do you tell somebody who, let's say, they come out of high school and they say, "I'm going to be an actor"?
I tell them to go to college and have something to fall back on. And then, of course, try to become an actor. Because also there's so many, there are so many great actors that don't ever have an opportunity because, it involves a lot of luck also. You can be a fantastic actor and no one will know it.
This is a business where luck does play a huge part, too.
So Melissa, at any point in time, did you actually study acting?
I went to a class. At the time, I think I thought it was more for commercials, but I guess it was, you would call it a kid's acting class. Interestingly, taught by Jerry Taft, and he was an out-of-work actor. And he looked just like, I swear, he looked just like Clark Gable.
Wow.
Just like Clark Gable. And I don't think that helped him necessarily.
Right.
Anyway, and he would, it was especially for young children, and there were a few older ones, but most of us were pretty young. And so I did that for a while, and then I think later on I went to a few of Daryl Hickman's acting classes, and those were interesting. And just to when you're kind of like waiting for the phone to ring,
sure,
waiting for something to do, and you want to keep busy and keep active and all that, and so that was very good and helpful.
Now, Melissa, growing up in the business, and you were pretty busy. When you hit your teen years, what was your social life like?
The only people I met were guest stars or extras or something on the set, and then it was just, I was always around older people.
Sure.
So no, it was hard actually,
yeah.
And everything was so scrutinized. I wanted to become my own person.
Sure.
I wanted to get out from under, and so I kind of just waited till I was older and till I was 18 and could do my own thing and make my own choices. And
well, that was probably, in hindsight, a smart thing to do because, as we all know, when we're young, we tend to do foolish things, even if you're not in the business.
Do you have any regrets having been such a young performer?
I think, for me it worked out fine. I was a child actor longer than I wasn't, and I did enjoy my life, and I had been so shy, and it did sort of help me with that. But on the other hand, it's unnatural. Kids shouldn't be working, I don't think. I think kids should be kids. But sometimes kids are not happy being kids. For me, I had an outlet, and it was very probably therapeutic for me.
So you had a positive experience.
It was good for me.
So Melissa, your favorite role so far?
I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite role, but certainly my favorite show to do was The Equalizer. But my favorite, one of my favorite roles was the second Alfred Hitchcock that I did. It was during the writer's strike, so they couldn't do an original. And I went back and did a comedy called Murder in Mind. It was about a busybody neighbor. It was really funny, and this character talked to the camera, and I don't know, I just really liked the character, and it was different for me because most people think I can't do comedy.
Well, most people don't think you can see.
That's true.
Bob.
Now, you recently wrote your autobiography, The Way I See It.
Right, in 2010.
Right.
Yes.
What inspired you to do that, and how was that process? Because writing is a lot different than acting.
I never thought of writing at all. There was a literary agent in New York who approached me about writing the book. That's how that happened.
Uh-huh.
And I did it, but I did not particularly enjoy it. I'm not a writer. I also didn't want to write. I would only do it if I could write the book that I wanted to write.
And now you're a published author.
I am, but I guarantee you that will be the only book I write. But
no future plans to help Michael with the next Equalizer?
No.
So you and Michael have raised your family. Your kids are grown, and what are your plans for the future?
I'm thinking of seeing if there are any grandmother roles out there for me, possibly to play.
Any thoughts of getting on stage?
I wouldn't be. I would love to. I've done it before. I don't know what's in store for me that way. If anybody, even wants to, look at me anymore, I have no idea.
Well, I must say you look pretty good. Some people mature well, and others mature brilliantly. This is a generation, though. I think where people over 25 not only have a second career, but they can have a third and fourth career.
Yeah.
Well, it's looking better at least. Yeah.
It sure is.
That's true, and Juliana Margulies was very eloquent. Of course, I can't quote what she said, but it was eloquent at the Emmys, talking about, there are a lot of roles for women now. So you never know. You never know.
And how was the red carpet for The Equalizer at the Toronto Film Festival?
That was pretty cool. Very cool. It was something I'd never done before, and that was, on that scale.
I must say, you and Michael look like rock stars.
Yeah, we saw a picture of you. You guys look great.
Oh, thank you. No, it was very fun, and I'm thrilled, about the movie. And I've been tweeting and getting involved, and it was so cool. The Equalizer followed me, and they asked if they could use one or two of my tweets, and I was like, of course you can. It was so exciting. It was very fun.
Well, I must tell you, you're way ahead of me. You're into Twittering. My goodness.
Oh, it's fun. It is fun. It is really fun.
Melissa, I must say, we've talked to a lot of folks. I have worked with a lot of actors and actresses, and it's a pleasure talking to somebody who has been a major star and is very normal.
And I also was always told that I didn't have the right personality for the business, so I guess that means I was too normal, too.
That's a compliment.
Well, they could have been wrong, because there aren't many people who've had a career that can match yours, and I must say you've come a long way since the days of Mary Ingalls. I just can't tell you how much we appreciate your doing this.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure, and thank you again for asking.
Thank you, Melissa. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Okay, bye.
Such a nice person.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was great talking to her and hearing kind of the inside scoop on that Hollywood career that started so young. So listen, before we go, I want to remind everybody, go to the website at wherehollywoodhides.com. Take a look at our book. It's the perfect gift.
It's Where Hollywood Hides Santa Barbara, Celebrities in Paradise.
Thank you. It's hardcover, full color. It's a real collectible. It's the perfect gift.
It'll be great for the holidays.
Hey, listen, I do want to mention, we really appreciate the comments and feedback we're getting from places as far away as Belgium, Sweden, the island of Martinique.
64 countries.
64 countries, including Japan, Italy, New Zealand, Australia, Germany. It's incredible how far these podcasts go and how many people are attuned to Where Hollywood Hides.
Very exciting.
And we are shipping books overseas as well, so anybody from any of those 64 countries, hit that Buy Now button on the website. We'll ship it out promptly.
If you like these podcasts, please just take a moment to go to iTunes Where Hollywood Hides and give us a 5-star rating, and maybe even a couple of review comments like how much you like us. And when you're on FB, that's Facebook for those seniors who are just coming around to logging on, please visit the Where Hollywood Hides page and give us a quick like. It really does help get the word out. And today's music is provided by Chance McCullough. You can find more of his original soundtracks at chancemccullough.com.
Thanks for listening. This is Bob McCullough.
And this is Suzanne Herrera McCullough. Just want to wish everybody happy Halloween. See you at the movies.
Another Papa Dion, your name and me on. If you get lucky, you could. Yes, buddy, you'll arrive if you can top his 5. Hooray for Hollywood! Hooray for Hollywood! Woolly Hollywood!
They hire cowboys and then hang their chaps up and doll their maps up and give them all that they lack. Now ain't it funny, they pay 'em money, shows what you can do if your horse can act. Men act like ape men and then convince the nation. They make 'em run and yell, and people think